thank you very much, and thank you to you and Lizzie for inviting me to be with you today. As you're right, I was at DCMS as Arts Minister for a year, but obviously as Lords Minister you get to answer for everything that the department does, and I was known to try and plan some questions of the Lords on heritage so that I could spend as much time with the dispatch box speaking about it. So I'm delighted to be Minister for Arts and Heritage and to be able to talk to you officially at the beautiful Charterhouse, and what a glorious building this is, inside and out, looking splendid in the sunshine, and what a fantastic room. So thank you for having me with you. And this is a brilliant part of London to be holding Heritage Day in, as well as Charterhouse. I think a number of us started the day in the fabulous Great Hall at St Bart's, where the National Lottery Heritage Fund were unveiling their new 10-year strategy that celebrates its 900th anniversary this year, along with St Bartholomew the Great Church, which is part of the same foundation. Both great examples of living heritage, still doing the things, providing clinical and spiritual nourishment to people on the sites that they've been doing so for close to a millennium. Sir John Benjamin lived opposite the church, one of my heritage heroes. He lived alongside it in Cloth Fair, which in what has been dubbed the oldest house in London, because it's one of the only surviving residential home that predates the Great Fire. Now brilliantly looked after by the Landmark Trust, so you can walk in his footsteps and sit in his sitting room. If you're itching for a pint at the end of today's discussions, there are so many wonderful pubs. I would particularly recommend the Handham Shears, which has been serving people on that site since 1532. Or you could wander through Smithfield Market, where of course we've had nearly 800 years of continuous meat trading there, and if like me you're a bit sad that that's coming to an end soon, you can cheer yourself up by looking at the fantastic work that's already underway for its new home for the Museum of London. So it's a really brilliant neighbourhood that you've chosen to meet in. And I hope that today's meeting and the discussions you've been having today and yesterday have been a good opportunity to come together and to discuss the challenges and opportunities which are facing the sector. I'm a history graduate, I'm a keen historian, I'm very passionate about history and heritage, so as I say, I was delighted to be appointed as the Minister responsible for heritage. It's been wonderful to get out and about and meet lots of people. I joined DCMS towards the end of the pandemic, so I've been meeting people as they've been able to welcome people back to their sites, to their venues in person. But I've seen as well that the strong collaboration that there was across the sector and across all of our sectors at DCMS during the challenging months of the pandemic. So thank you, Phil, to all of you who were helping each other and helping us out through those challenging times. As you know, as of last month, DCMS has a new Secretary of State. It's a frequent occurrence, I know. We have Lucy Fraser, and of course a renewed focus on culture, media and sport, which encompasses heritage, the arts, the creative industries, and I'm sure there are many here who hark back fondly to the days of the Department for National Heritage, but heritage and tourism are very much part of the central work of the department, even if they're not quite in the acronym. And the changes reflect the Prime Minister's recognition of the importance of our sectors to the UK economy and build on our position as a global leader in them. And heritage is of course a key part of that. Our heritage and the related sectors that sustain it are an important source of economic prosperity and growth for our country, as well as nourishing and well-being. It's hard to define heritage in a way that fully encapsulates the depth and breadth of our national heritage, from the thousands of historic buildings, the parks and natural landscapes, the ancient monuments, the maritime wrecks and archaeological sites. But what we know is that heritage in all of those forms is a key part of the UK's global brand and an important source of economic prosperity and growth for our country. It's a significant draw for tourists from all over the world, from the historic landscape of the national parks like the Lake District to venues like the Tower of London, which attracts so many people year in, year out. Heritage attracts millions of domestic and international tourists every year, and the visitor economy plays such a vital part in driving growth. And of course, during the months of the pandemic, when we were taking staycations, I think people have been rediscovering the heritage and the destinations that are right on their doorstep and looking at them afresh, which is really exciting. And of course this year will give us plenty more to celebrate and to promote. It's wonderful news to hear that Thornborough henges have been saved for the nation and are now part of the National Heritage Collection. They are of course in the Prime Minister's constituency, which is good, so it's making sure that he is thinking about it as I know he does. And today, of course, through this conference we celebrate the 20th anniversary of the Heritage Alliance, the largest coalition of heritage interests in England, with over 190 independent organisations, and over the last 2 decades the Alliance has played a vital role in protecting our nation's heritage. So thank you for that incredible work over the last 20 years, and here is to many successes in the decades to come. As I mentioned this morning, saw the launch of the Heritage Fund's new 10-year strategy, which I was pleased to attend with many of you. It's great to see the Heritage Fund's unwavering commitment to ensuring that through both open and targeted investment, a broad range of the UK's heritage will continue to be supported and valued and cared for the widest possible audiences. And in May, of course, we have the coronation of His Majesty the King, something that we haven't seen very few people living have experienced before, and it's a huge opportunity to show off the rich history of this country, and for people across the UK to come together and celebrate. And of course, shortly after that, we have the Eurovision Song Contest in Liverpool, culturally different, but equally exciting opportunity, which we're very proudly hosting on behalf of Ukraine, but a chance for Liverpool, that fine city with wonderful, rich musical heritage, to show itself off on a world stage. But I know that we can't look forward without also looking at some of the challenges which we all know we still face. I appreciate that for lots of organisations, reserves were depleted during the pandemic, and now of course inflation and the rising cost of living because of the invasion of Ukraine and the actions of Russia are having a significant impact, and that the economic headwinds are still blowing strongly, and that the environment is still a challenging one for many. As you know, the government has taken action. We were so proud to stand with you during the pandemic through the Cultural Recovery Fund, and so grateful to Historic England and the Heritage Fund and others who helped us get that money to the organisations that needed them so they could welcome people back. And of course, in the past 6 months, through the Energy Bill Relief Scheme, we've been supporting organisations through a discount on wholesale gas and electricity prices. From April, we'll continue to provide support through the Energy Bills Discount Scheme, which will continue to help businesses over the next 12 months. In addition, we will also offer support to energy and trade-intensive industries, which includes heritage sites, with a higher discount applied to 70% of energy volumes. And details on how that will work and how widely it will apply are yet to be determined, but we wouldn't have got that outcome and that recognition without the brilliant collaboration we've had from across the sector. So thank you for all the evidence, the insights that you helped give the team at DCMS, which enabled us to represent you as fully as we can across government. Alongside this, environmental sustainability and reaching net zero carbon dioxide emissions are a key priority for the government, and heritage plays a unique role in our journey to a cleaner, greener and more sustainable future. And of course, heritage knows only too well the risks to our cultural, historical, archaeological and marine environments from climate change. We need to use our internationally renowned expertise in the UK to make significant changes in the coming years to protect that natural and historic environment and to limit the impact of climate change. There are more than 5 million homes in England built before the end of the First World War. That represents 20% of England's housing stock. If we want to reduce our energy consumption, then we need to ensure that historic buildings are a successful part of our transition to net zero, and our aim is to ensure the right balance is struck between those net zero goals and protecting heritage and ensuring the positive adaptation of our existing housing stock. Not only do we need to create incentives for that sort of positive adaptation, we need to ensure that the workforce is there to deliver it and to meet the scale of the challenge required. As part of the review into adapting historic homes for energy efficiency, we're working with other government departments to see how we can boost the skills of existing builders and craftspeople and how we can create a new pipeline of future talent. We're doing some work with the Department for Education on a new cultural education plan, and I'm very glad that heritage and heritage skills are being reflected in the panel that are helping us to do that work between DCMS and the Department for Education. We're also committed to working with you to explore potential ways to encourage the repair and maintenance of historic buildings. That includes what I know is the long-running issue of VAT on maintenance of buildings. I'm determined to explore opportunities for reform and to understand the implications of any potential change to VAT on repairs and maintenance of historic buildings. Our new Secretary of State has come fresh from being Housing Minister. She was previously Financial Secretary to the Treasury, which is both very important in helping us make that case across Whitehall, and we've already been discussing the issue with colleagues in the government and continue to look at that and work with you on it. One of the government's top priorities, which I know you've all been keenly engaged in as well, whether you call it levelling up or not, is that levelling up every part of the United Kingdom, ensuring that everyone has the ability to engage with the opportunities that are around them, and our country's world-class heritage and from our historic coastline, our industrial buildings and inspiring places of worship are a vital part of our national identity. That means that recognising, protecting and celebrating our heritage can and indeed already does play a critical role in levelling up by contributing to local economies as well as the national one, regenerating places that have for too long felt overlooked, enhancing well-being and building pride in place. And the government's levelling up funding programmes are helping to do that. As part of the first round of the Levelling Up Fund, places all over the country were supported to deliver a wide range of projects with culture and heritage at their heart. The fund is enabling Wentworth Woodhouse, for instance, to transform its riding school and stables, to create new hospitality and visitor centres, and in the second round of the fund that was announced at the beginning of this year, there were many more inspiring projects, and I look forward to visiting them as the funding unlocks that and helps them be delivered. Other heritage-led initiatives like the £95 million High Streets Heritage Action Zones, which is funded by the government and delivered by Historic England, also have a key role to play in empowering people to engage with their local heritage. The Secretary of State and I celebrated this programme only last week at a parliamentary reception. It's been the largest ever government investment in built heritage and has benefited 67 high streets across England. I've seen some of them myself, including a visit to Coventry during its time as City of Culture and in Gloucester. It's important that as we seek to boost growth and regenerate places across the country, that the planning system continues to protect heritage buildings and ensures that these historic assets are complemented by new high-quality buildings which will reinforce and add to the distinctive character of local places. I'm pleased that heritage protection has been recently championed in the planning legislation through the Levelling Up and Regeneration Bill, which is currently before the House of Lords. And the heritage provisions in the bill aim to provide greater clarity on requirements, standards and processes when dealing with heritage, and indeed to enable a more streamlined approach to be taken in the new planning system. The bill will also deliver planning reforms to ensure that new development is more beautiful, that it produces more local infrastructure, that it's shaped by local people's democratic wishes, that it improves environmental outcomes, and that it takes place with neighbourhoods very much in mind. And I want neighbourhoods and communities to continue to celebrate their local heritage in places across the country and to harness the power of the past to build links between people and the places they live in and work in today. That's why I'm keen to explore new and more ambitious ways of doing this, including looking into the expansion of the official Blue Plaque scheme beyond London. I know that's something that's been looked at before, and I know there are brilliant schemes across the country where people already recognise local figures that are celebrating their communities. But I'd like to see that take place not just in our nation's capital. Blue plaques help people to understand and value their local heritage and take pride in their community. Since 1866, the scheme has been focused on London alone, and while there are many brilliant schemes that sit alongside it, I think it's right that the official scheme run by a national organisation should be nationwide. Indeed, one of the politicians who led to its formation in the 1860s, William Ewart, was born in Liverpool. He sat in the House of Commons for that city. He also sat for Wigan and for Bletchley and Surrey. He died in Devizes and Wiltshire. None of those places are covered by the scheme that he bequeathed us. And I want young people right across the country to see that people from their local area have done things of which they can still today be so proud. It's very fitting on World Book Day, in particular as we walk past the wonderful Florin Court, which so many people know from the TV adaptation of Agatha Christie's Poirot novels that we think about Dame Agatha today. She has a blue plaque on her house in Kensington, but she was born in Torquay. She lived a lot of her life in Berkshire and Oxfordshire. She's world renowned, and people everywhere should know the links that they have, that she and figures like her have to their communities. Coming from the northeast, Robert Stevenson, the great railway pioneer, was born in Willington Quay on the banks of the Tyne. He sat in Parliament for Whitby in North Yorkshire. Those communities and the whole world know what a fantastic pioneer he was and what a great gift he gave to the world through his pioneering railway engineering, which we celebrate in Rail Heritage. So I look forward to working with English Heritage and others who have views on the best way of doing that. So I'd just like to finish by thanking you all again for the hard work that you and your organisations have done during the pandemic and since, and for many years before that as well, in support of our nation's great heritage. Thank you to the Heritage Alliance for putting on this fantastic event. It's been brilliant working with you since I got Heritage in my job title at DCMS, and I look forward to continue doing that in the future. I think we've got some chance for Q&A, but thank you very much for your attention.